How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at some Pokemon leaks, rumors, all things like that. So, sit back, relax, grab yourself a beverage, and let's get started. First things first, guys, we have this post right here from Central Leaks. Now, Central Leaks is just an aggregator and a place that posts and shares any leaks that have been posted. But he basically said, final direct of the Switch era is what he says here. And then it leads to a previous tweet that he made about 23 hours ago where he said, Nintendo Direct is coming next week. And he quote tweets a tweet from none else than Necrofelipe. And Necrofelipe is actually a guy who has made several tweets like this in the past, okay? And I think this guy does have some knowledge. I feel like this guy is like a weird person because I cannot remember if he's always right or always wrong. I think he's right though, because I don't think Central would go out on the limb here. Because Central Pokemon already gets enough, flack from people. But I don't think Central would go on a limb here and, say that this guy is actually right and that this is happening if there wasn't something that was pointing towards it. Now, if you actually look at the real post here that was from Necrofelipe, it says, sources, new Nintendo Direct presentation should take place next week. So next week would be, well, literally next week. So around the 12th until the 16th, anywhere in that time frame, I guess. But I would wonder, though, when that will be announced. Now, it says here, traditionally maintaining its regular presentation in February, Nintendo should soon hold another digital event to publicize its next news, focused on the first half of 2024. According to information obtained by Universo Nintendo from sources who choose to remain anonymous, okay, so they have some sources, the company should hold its traditional presentation of news through a Nintendo Direct next week on February 15th. That's pretty much what they're saying, February 15th. Oh, okay, so midweek, Thursday. Interesting. Now, the format of this presentation, whether mini or general, has not been presented to us, as well as its definitive date so far. But again, we are waiting for news for some first-party titles from the Johto company. So far, the company has not made any announcements or given any indication of this presentation. Stay tuned for more news. Now, the place that posted this was Universo Nintendo. If we look it up, is this website here, which is a fan site that's ran. And let's see where the actual post about this is, because there it is. Okay, so they have the exact same kind of post. And let's see what day. I guess is this the same one? Oh, this is the same one. Okay, this is from the actual website. So they were the ones who got the source. They were the ones given the actual information. So to put it like this, okay, does this mean a lot for Pokemon? No. But it could. It could mean a lot to Pokemon. Because keep in mind, if this Nintendo Direct does happen next week, hopefully, right? Because the way, Centro is saying it here, he's like, more or less saying that this is the final direct of the Switch era, meaning that we're moving away from the Switch era and over to something different, right? To something else. Now, what that else thing would be, what that different thing would be, that's all up for debate right now. I don't know what that could be, right? Is that going to be a Switch 2, a Switch Pro, something not even called Switch, something with a different name? I don't really know, because I don't really know where they could even go next with a console, right? Like, the Switch does a cool job. It's basically like a mix between a Game Boy, a DS, and a Wii, right? It's like a mix of those ones. Maybe even a Wii U, toss that in there, right? It's a mix of all those things together. But, I don't know where they could go with this next. I have no idea where they would go next. Because the thing that Nintendo always had, right? The one advantage they had over PlayStation and Xbox was the fact that they had always a handheld console that was super successful and always a mainline console that was super successful up until the Wii U, right? Because we always had, during the GameCube era, we had, the Game Boy games, right? The Game Boy, Game Boy Advanced games. Before that, we had Game Boy Color. Before that, we had original Game Boy, right? Which has always been a bit of an upgrade each time, but those were the Game Boy line of consoles. Then we moved over to the DS, Nintendo DS. And when we moved over to that system, right, when we moved over to, the DS, naming scheme and stuff, it's a whole new system, but that was still, the handhelds, but those were matched up with a home console being the Wii. So the question really is, where could you actually go next with it? What's the next thing, right? Are we staying on the Switch? Are we just getting an upgrade of the Switch? Are we getting a version of the Switch? Are we getting the Switch U, the equivalent to the Wii U? Is that what's happening? Would that be a good idea? Again, it's really just up in debate. But the thing is, if we do get a new console announced, for Pokemon, that doesn't really mean much. Now, you might be arguing oh no, but, Pokemon's going to be, has to be on it's going to be on the new console. But Pokemon games have always, and this is a literal fact, Pokemon games have always been about 1 to 2 years late with a new entry when a console comes out. So, example, Switch. When the Switch came out in 2017, it took about a year and a half, okay? Almost 2 years, because you had all of 2017, from March of 2017, when the Switch came out, until November of 2018, right? So it had pretty much majority of 2017 and majority of the other year. So almost 2 years before the first actual Pokemon game. Almost, not exactly 2 years, like a year and a half, I would say, just to average it out, before you actually got your first official Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch. And at that same period, you had Breath of the Wild already out, Mario Odyssey already out, and a few other games as well, like, you know, third parties and stuff like that. But Pokemon still wasn't out. So for Pokemon, right, it doesn't really matter if the new console is already out, because we're still going to get games on the Switch. We're still going to get games on the Switch for this year and probably for next year, if there are, of course, new games this year, next year, whatever. But point is that if there's a new generation coming out, it's still going to be on this console most likely. There is a chance it won't be. There's always a chance, and that's if they decide to delay it, you know, the new generation, delay it to like 2026 or something like that. That's always a chance, okay? It wouldn't fit in with their generational path, right? Because they always do 3 years per generation, and this year is going to be the last year for this gen, okay? The last year of it. So I don't know if they would announce a new generation that would then be coming out at the tail end of this console. I mean, they could, but it would be a bit odd if they were to do that. Then again, Pokemon's done really well for itself, which actually takes me to the second thing I want to talk about, which is going to be this right here. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, is an update from Celebi about the sales of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and also Pokemon Sword and Shield. And I think they had another post about this. But basically what they say is the following. Celebi update. As of December 31st, 2023, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has sold 24.36 million units. It has now passed Gold and Silver and is the third best-selling Pokemon game of all time after just 13 months on sale. And the thing is, they actually did a comparison. If you actually look at their tweets here, if we can scroll down far enough, right here, they also update that apparently Pokemon Sword and Shield has sold 26.17 million copies as of December 31st, 2023, which is interesting. So that confirms that the games are doing well. New-gen Pokemon games, this is like the proof you need, like all the proof you need for why they're going to release a new generation most likely next year, is that these things sell well. A new generational game for Pokemon is always going to be bigger than a remake. Now, remember, remakes are cool and all, but the difference between a remake and a brand new generation of Pokemon is that a remake game, okay, recreates a nostalgia that not everybody's going to have, right? So, okay, some of you might be excited for Pokemon Red and Blue again. I don't know. Maybe you are just a Kanto, you know, what are they called? Gen 1ers or whatever. Maybe you are one of those. Maybe you're excited for it, but not everybody is. However, when a new generation comes out, that's going to bring in brand new people and already the people that are going to buy it no matter what, plus the Pokemon fans that are like, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one that's going to recreate my childhood. But not everybody has that with some of the older games, right? So, like, for example, even Scarlet and Violet, if they remake Scarlet and Violet in 20 years from now, right? If they do a remake of Scarlet and Violet in 20 years, it's not going to sell as good, of course, as, like, you know, this iteration or whatever, like, generation 15 is at that point in time, right? Whatever, like, the next, you know, the generation we're at that point, it's not going to sell as good as that generation, obviously, because a new gen brings in new audiences, new people, on top of also bringing in, you know, a new audience, but also bringing in the already existing fans. Whereas a remake has a harder sell. It's a harder sell because if you've already played it, you might be like, I didn't like it back then either, so I'm not going to buy it now either. Why would I? You know, it's just a remake of what I already had. There's always going to be a little bit of a downside to a remake as opposed to a brand new game, right? That's just how it is. Of course, remakes can still do good. BDSP is proof of that. BDSP, for most people, is a horrible game, but it's still sold like 15, 16 million copies, which is insane, okay? It's still sold really, really well. Like, it's sold what? Like, almost half the sales, more than half the sales of, you know, Scarlet and Violet. So, it's just, like, you know, the idea that just, like, ROM hacks, fan games, what I'm talking about. Remakes. The idea that remakes aren't a good thing or not a worthwhile investment is a stupid thing, you know, to argue. They are. They make a lot of money, and there's still a large fan base of those people. But a new generation is going to bring in new people. Much higher chance of bringing in new people because it is a brand new product. So it's already going to have more hype on it because it's going to be brand new Pokemon. It's going to be brand new shit. Whereas, like, the older games will have a lot of old Pokemon that everybody already knows about. Just all I'm saying is, these new games do really well, and these sales kind of prove it. So that's where I'm just going to leave that. Let's move on to another quick thing, which is that apparently Paldea-themed Pokemon spirits are going to be added to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in February 9th, 2024, which is random, so that's in about like 2 days if you play Smash Ultimate still. There you go, that's that. And let's move now on to some of the rumors. So we talked about the official stuff, like relatively official. I guess the Centro post is not like really official. It's still a rumor. Still take it with a massive grain of salt. But I would assume that we will be getting a Nintendo Direct some point this month. And not just a Pokemon Presents, because Pokemon Presents is going to happen on Pokemon Day, but we'll probably get a Nintendo Direct sometime soon. Like, realistically, we will. However, let's move on to the actual rumor post. Now, this is where shit gets a bit more interesting for me. This is actually a really cool post, and it has some cool logos up here. Let's go Wooper and let's go Togepi. So here's what this guy says, basically. He says, hey there. And that's all he says. No, he says, hey there. And then he continues and goes on. Gold, Silver, Crystal remakes for the Switch. Okay. That's pretty straightforward. Not really much else there. Direct sequels to Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Direct sequels? Huh. What would that even imply? Like literal sequels, the story continues? But there was barely any story there. It's just like a watered down version of Pokemon Red and Blue, right? Like, it's not really as much there to work with. Continuing though, they say Wooper and Togepi are the mascots. See, a lot of people thought it would be like, something like Let's Go Meryl or whatever. I think Wooper and Togepi would actually be really cool of like a combo to do. However, there is one problem, which is like Togepi is like an egg. It's like a baby Pokemon, I guess. Wooper isn't, as far as I'm aware. So how would those work? I don't know. Again, I digress. Let's move on. He says here that Kanto postgame, well, I mean, I'd hope so. If they don't do a Kanto postgame in a Johto game, that is just, it's an instant, like, even if the game was a 10 out of 10 in terms of every other quality, it loses 5 points just because it doesn't include the extra region, which is there in every other iteration. Of course, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit. Of course, if they can do Johto really well, it's a 10 out of 10 game, so who cares about Kanto? But the Kanto is just a bonus to have, right? And it's always been there, so if they remove it now, that would just be really scummy. Now, it says here, there is a new Pokeball Plus accessory based on the GS Ball that has Celebi inside of it when you connect it to the games. That would actually make sense. They did the same thing with Mew in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. If you bought the Pokeball Plus, like the Pokeball shaped like controller, it actually included with it a Mew inside of it, which was like a very pay-to-win thing at the time. I remember that was a whole drama about that. Like, we all had arguments to make about that whole thing, but that was back then. And hopefully they won't do it again, though. But according to this, they would. Either way, moving on. You get Wooper or Togepi egg from Elm that's about to hatch, and if it becomes... Wait, what? Okay, so you get a Wooper or Togepi egg from Elm that's about to hatch, and it becomes your partner Pokemon. Okay, so... kind of like, I guess in this case it would be an egg, which makes sense because as far as I'm aware, like Johto in general, if I remember correctly, is where like breeding and stuff kind of became more of a thing, right? Or like people paid more attention to it, and eggs were more relevant. I mean, the first thing you do is like deal with eggs. Now again, moving on. In-game trades for Hisuian, Galarian, and Paldean forms. Okay, that would be about right. Didn't they do the same thing, I feel like, in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where you had access to, like, Alolan forms? I could be wrong. I don't remember anymore. It's been a while. It's like 2018 is a long time ago, okay? But evolutions like Cursula are transfer only from home or go. Okay, interesting. Hold items or held items are reintroduced. So, okay, so they would do them, a Let's Go game with those items. Okay, fair enough. Go Park has moved from Fuchsia City to replace Johto's Safari Zone. Okay, I don't know about that one. I don't really like that, but oh well. Gameplay is similar to the original Let's Go games, and awakened values return. Okay. New Pokemon Ami-like mechanic where you can play with all your Pokemon, not just your partner. Okay, well, that's pretty neat. I remember people like that. What was it, like back in X and Y, I guess? It's like when we last saw that, like people actually interacting with that. So, I don't know. I'm you know what? It ain't that big of a deal. It ain't that bad. Okay, like it ain't that bad. It sounds like a pretty solid ID. However, moving on, the next thing is big in-game rewards for transferring Pokemon from original Let's Go games. Okay, so that also sounds realistic. Again, a lot of the stuff here just sounds real. Like, it sounds like something they would do. It doesn't sound like too far-fetched in terms of IDs and concepts. Continuing, he says, you play as a new trainer with a new rival. Okay. New trainers. So I guess it's the same thing as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where instead of playing as Red or, or I guess red or blue or green, whatever you want to call them, you actually play as Chase, and then your rival is Trace. Chase and Trace. What? Jeez. It's the Pokemon with these pun names. So I'm guessing in this case, they would have references to Gold, Ethan, whatever, and Crystal and Chris and, those characters. I guess they would have references to those the same way we had references and we actually got to meet Red and, the rest of them in the actual Scarlet in the actual Let's Go Pikachu EV game. Like, you got to meet them in the story and stuff. I guess that's what they might be implying here. Continuing, it says, your partner Pokemon can find apricorns to give to Kurt to make new Pokeballs. Okay, fair enough. That doesn't sound too crazy. The Gold and Silver Leaf can power up Wooper and Togepi when held. Okay, All right. Now, these will be the last main series Pokemon games on the Switch, which, again, wouldn't be too surprising if they actually were. Now, here's the thing, right? First of all, solid rumor. A lot of the information feels, like, realistic. It doesn't feel too far-fetched. Doesn't feel too, how'd you put it? Like, it doesn't feel unrealistic. I think that's the biggest point I want to make. It doesn't feel unrealistic. It doesn't feel out there and crazy. Like, a lot of this stuff makes sense. I think the thing that makes the most sense is actually the idea of, like, a GS ball. Like, again, I don't really think they would do a GS ball design for one of those Pokeball things. I don't think they would, just because I feel like it would sell less just because it doesn't look like a regular Pokeball. And I know that might sound stupid, but sometimes even small shit like that might be people, like, I'm going to use this example. And I hate using this example because the person I'm referring to, I really didn't like this person, but it was in school. When I was in school, I wanted to draw Pokemon. My teacher did not let me unless it was Gen 1 Pokemon. I was not allowed to draw anything. Nothing. I had to draw literally, like, only the Generation 1, 151 Pokemon. She was like, no, if you're going to draw anything else besides that, you're not allowed to do it. This is genuinely a teacher telling it to a kid. And I was confused because I was like, oh, but I like Hoenn. I like Mudkips. I like Mudkips. I like Trico. I like Torchic. I want to draw those. She's like, nope, you can't do that. No. And she genuinely meant it. Like, just frustrated at me if I did it. So all I'm going to say is there are people out there who genuinely only like the original shit. So if you try to package something that even looks slightly different, you might argue, but the GS ball is original. That is from the original Gen 2 and stuff like that. Yeah, but that's the thing. Some people, it's harder to sell them something unless it is packaged like that original format, aka a regular-ass Pokeball, right? Or an Ultra Ball, Great Ball. Those still count, I guess. But, like, the thing, though, is this sounds like the most realistic thing to me, that they would take literally, like, the Pokeball Plus, or whatever you call it, the Pokeball, like, Joy-Con thingy that we had. They would take that, make it a GS design, gold, silver, etc., whatever. Ooh, put a Celebi in it. They're selling to you, basically. That sounds like Super Pokemon. That sounds like Pokemon Company 101, Game Freak 101, the way they do business, baby. Like, this sounds exactly like the kind of thing they would do. So that's where I give this one, like, a little bit of this is... So I'm going to put it like this. I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. I haven't given a lot of these rumors 7 out of 10. It's like one I did in the last video where I actually was like, you know what? Ooh, this shit good, bro. This rumor is like, ooh, this guy did some good writing and, like, some interesting stuff, bro. This one, though, is not on that level, I would say, in terms of, like, the stuff it says. But if it's real, I guess we'll see how that's going to feel, right? But this one sounds very... I'm going to be real and say it like this. It sounds depressing, okay? It just sounds depressing. It doesn't sound exciting and stuff. But that's the reality of Pokemon. We always get excited and hyped up, and then the end result is disappointment every single time. So that's kind of the feeling I'm getting from this one. It's like, it feels very underwhelming, which is exactly what Pokemon has been for the last few years. So that's what makes me feel like it's more realistic. But again, it's just a rumor, guys. Please remember that. It's just a rumor. It is not confirmed. It's not, like, guaranteed. No such thing. It's literally just a rumor. So that's going to be pretty much it for that rumor. Let's move on to the final thing for this video, which is going to be this post right here. So let's take a look at what it says. This one says Pokemon Legends, and this one is just weird. I don't know. This was just sent to me. I was like, okay, let's have a look at it, I guess. Pokemon Legends, posted by Anonymous. It said, set in Kinai, formerly Johto. Okay. You are a member of the Watch. Ooh, okay. Is this like, is this Game of Thrones? The Night's Watch. Led by Handsome/Looker's ancestor Inspector, okay? The Watch protects, Kinai from attacks by wild Pokemon. Is this literally just Game of Thrones? That's what it sounds like. Or like Attack on Titan. Attacks by wild Pokemon. Kinai is flooded by... it's flooded by Lugia. Your character is revived by Ho-Oh to save the world. Okay. The art of Pokemon catching / training is forgotten and only you remember it, okay? Gameplay similar to Legends Arceus with added strategy plus tower defense elements. That actually would be sick. I'm gonna be real. That actually, you know what? I would love Legends gameplay and have an actual base to defend and shit like that. Boss, I like it. I think that sounds pretty sick. However, starters are Snivy, Torchic, and wait, a Generation 10 starter? It looks like a water bug type. Reveal later this month, spring 2025 release. Okay, so why would you include a post about Legends and then nothing about... Wait, I'm losing a few brain cells. So you're including this post about Pokemon Legends, a new Legends game, but nothing about the 10th generation Pokemon, which would clearly be the more important thing to talk about. And that's where I'm going to draw the line on this one. That's the point where I feel like this is fake. There's no way that an actual leaker would put more value on a Legends game than a brand new generation, okay? Or share more info about that. Now, again, this guy could have made another post. I don't know. Frankly, I have no idea. But I'm going to just put it like this. I'm not feeling it. It's like nothing in this gives me any indication this could be real. Again, it could be. Remember, these rumors, this is how, like, you know, when people doubt it the most, some of this shit can come true and actually be real. Like, keep that in mind. Like, there's no guarantee that this isn't real. However, realistically, this one doesn't feel like it's doing a lot or saying a lot. Again, we'll see everything once the actual trailer drops. Out of all these things that we covered now, and I'm going to keep covering these, of course, until Pokemon Day. I'll be covering these rumors and stuff and these posts. But until then, I wonder if any of these will come true, because I will think it's going to be so funny to go back and look at that post, you know, if there is a real one that ends up being actually confirmed. I would love to go back and check all the posts that were posted and see which one of them was actually real and, like, find the one that was, if there even is one, right? But I feel like we always have at least one every few years that from 4chan, which actually ends up being real. I just think it would be really cool to see how it turns out. But that's pretty much where I'm going to put that one. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Thank you all for watching. Leave a like down below. I'll see you next time. Peace out.